A game key card instead of a real cartridge? You have got to be kidding me. That was the explosive sentiment that erupted across the internet the moment whispers began about Sonic Racing, CrossWorlds possibly shipping in an unconventional format for the recently launched Nintendo Switch 2. It might sound like a small detail at first glance. Why get so upset over a piece of plastic? But for many dedicated fans, this revelation struck right at the heart of what they cherish most, owning a tangible physical release. And just like that, the stage was set for one of the biggest controversies in kart racing history. So, what exactly is going on here? Why are players so divided, and how does Nintendo's bold new strategy, with its bright red game key cards, factor into their plans for this accelerating gaming revolution? Today we are diving deep into the story behind Sonic Racing, CrossWorlds, and its unexpected predicament, as well as the swirling debate over how Nintendo Switch 2 owners might have to adapt. From behind-the-scenes design choices at Sega to the ways in which Nintendo's brand-new console aims to carve its unique legacy in the gaming world, there is a lot to unpack. In this episode, we are going to peel back every layer of this controversy. Why the Switch 2's new distribution model might anger traditionalists, whether Sega really stands to lose out on a key demographic, and how the rivalry between Mario Kart World and Sonic Racing, CrossWorlds, has, ironically, become more electrifying than any track these franchises have ever introduced. For those not in the know, Sonic Racing, CrossWorlds was first teased at the Game Awards in the year 2024. The reveal was swift and flashy, almost overshadowing other major announcements that evening. Imagine an arena glowing with flashing neon roads, new power-up items swirling around iconic Sega mascots, and the catchy theme of the Sonic franchise morphing into a pulse-pounding remix. That short teaser opened the floodgates of hype, promising an advanced installment in the beloved Sonic kart racing lineage, something not seen since Team Sonic Racing launched in the year 2019. Fans have yearned for a fresh addition to keep up with the evolving demands of a new console generation. After all, if Mario Kart can update itself with new entries every few years or so, how could Sega's iconic Hedgehog not also dive headlong into the next dimension of racing? And from that moment on, every detail about the new game seemed poised to generate wild speculation. Yet from the moment images of the Switch 2's game box started circulating, an even wilder rumor took center stage. The notion that Sega's physical release might not contain an actual cartridge, but rather a bright red plastic key card loaded with nothing but a download code. These rumored key cards, introduced by Nintendo alongside the Switch 2, were said to be intended for third-party publishers whose games simply could not fit on traditional game cards, or who wanted to release content more flexibly. The uproar from potential buyers was immediate. Is this the end of the physical era? Are we basically buying empty plastic cases? What does this mean for collecting, trading, or passing on physical games to friends? Nintendo, for its part, had tried to address some of these concerns prior to the unveiling of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. They insisted that these keycards were not mandatory for all developers and that first-party titles, such as Mario Kart World, would continue to arrive on cartridges without requiring a huge digital download. So, in essence, this system was pitched as a compromise for large-scale third-party titles or for those that demanded substantial post-launch patches. But to some fans, especially those with slower internet connections, limited data plans, or simply an ingrained collector mentality, this was a bitter pill to swallow. And with the rumor that CrossWorlds might be among the first wave of major new releases to adopt that keycard approach, the reaction was swift and harsh. Of course, once you introduce a rumor of that magnitude into the gaming community, it sparks a chain reaction. Twitter threads exploded with speculation. More than a few insider sources popped up to say they had additional information, some claiming that the final build of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds would not actually fit on a standard Switch 2 cartridge because of an enormous number of high-resolution track textures, advanced lighting models, and voice-acted cutscenes integrated into the single-player campaign. And while Nintendo had offered larger cartridge support for some publishers, it was rumored that Sega was not willing to pay the higher manufacturing costs. This entire situation gave rise to endless fan theories. Was Sega cutting corners? Could they have optimized the game better? Is this simply a strategic move to push more digital downloads? What is undeniably true is that Sonic Racing CrossWorlds has enormous ambitions. According to the developers, this is not just a reskin of the older racing formula. They are introducing new dynamic track elements, cross-platform online play, and robust customization for players who want to tweak their vehicles in ways previously unimaginable for a Sonic racing game. The single-player mode is said to incorporate a witty storyline featuring the iconic Sonic cast, while the online portion aims to foster an almost competitive esports environment. Racing titles are not often the domain of intense esports-level drama, but Sega apparently wants to change that perception entirely. This level of aspiration implies that the game might indeed require substantial data space, raising the question of whether a simple, cost-effective cartridge format is feasible. One leaker, known by the handle Wario64, claimed to have direct chat transcripts from Sega's own consumer support line. The transcript, purportedly posted online, seemed to confirm that the game would ship as a keycard for the Switch 2, with a redeemable code that would grant the user access to the full download. Immediately, fans recalled that such a scenario had been teased months earlier, bright red plastic keycards that would serve as placeholders on store shelves. Sega refused to either confirm or deny the authenticity of this leak, fueling the tension further. Then, only days later, images claiming to be of the official Sonic Racing CrossWorlds Switch 2 but to art mysteriously hit gaming forums. Now, this could have been a mock-up or an elaborate fake, nobody could say for certain. But it was enough to keep the rumor mill churning full steam. All this overshadowed what might have otherwise been a triumphant period leading up to the game's official release date. According to the planned schedule, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds will debut on September 25, 2025, for PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, personal computer, and the original Nintendo Switch. For owners of the brand new Switch 2, the original Switch version will still be playable thanks to partial backward compatibility, albeit without the advanced enhancements planned for the official Switch 2 edition. Sega, apparently aiming to roll out the best version possible, decided to delay that upgraded edition for fine-tuning. Still, the fact remains that Sonic Racing CrossWorlds is shaping up to be quite the competitor to Mario Kart World, which launched in tandem with the Switch 2 back in early June. Now, to those who might be less invested in physical collecting, the question arises, why the fuss? Countless gamers today prefer digital. They enjoy installing their entire library onto a console's storage, never needing to swap discs or cartridges. Yet for others, the physical format has an almost sacred value, a means to preserve gaming history, to display and admire disc or cartridge collections, and to trade or sell used titles down the line. The prospect of paying the same full retail price for a plastic shell that does not actually hold the game code might seem offensive, or at least a step backward from the era of tangible ownership. At the heart of the controversy is the fear that if keycards become standard practice for major releases, it could set a precedent for an all-digital future. Fans of physical ownership worry they will be forced into a market shift that leaves them no recourse. One group even launched a social media campaign demanding that Sega respect the power of real cartridges, posting memes of Sonic tearfully gazing at an empty plastic red card. In turn, some in the industry have labeled this sentimentality an overreaction, insisting that game data sizes have now grown so vast that the days of entire massive titles jammed onto small cartridges are likely numbered. Yet, ironically, the swirl of negative chatter has also driven curiosity. People who might not have paid attention to a brand new Sonic racing game, particularly one going head-to-head with Mario Kart World, are suddenly intrigued by the drama. Is Sonic Racing CrossWorlds a hidden masterpiece? Will it upend the dominance of Nintendo's storied kart racing franchise, or at least carve out a niche fanbase of its own? If you are finding all this discussion fascinating, and you dig a heartfelt exploration into the intersection of gaming technology and fan passion, give this video a friendly thumbs up. By doing so, you let us know that you appreciate these deep dives into what is shaking up the gaming industry. Beyond the distribution format, another point of intrigue revolves around the design philosophy Sonic team has instilled in CrossWorlds. Sega's producers have touted the game as a return to pure competitive racing, drawn from the ethos that once separated Sonic racing titles from their well-known Nintendo rival. Mario Kart World, from the vantage point of many fans, thrives on chaotic power-ups, unpredictability, and an almost party game feel that can level the playing field between novices and experts. CrossWorlds, by contrast, is apparently geared more toward high-skill players looking to master drifting, boosting, and a new stunt system that rewards careful track knowledge. This is not to say that the game lacks comedic attacks or item-based sabotage. However, Sega's representatives have stressed that the pacing, item distribution, and course designs have been calibrated to reward consistent technique over random luck. This focus on skill-based racing has fueled speculation that Sonic Racing CrossWorlds could gain a strong following among streamers and content creators who enjoy head-to-head tournaments. Indeed, Sega has teased cross-platform features, meaning that players on different gaming systems can race each other online without hiccup. If the netcode is stable, an area that has sometimes plagued racing games, this could become a fascinating new frontier. Mario Kart, of course, has maintained an almost unassailable position as the go-to party racer. But CrossWorlds might carve out an audience of serious speed enthusiasts who want a more measured approach to the genre. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Sega's developers have also dropped hints about a single-player story that could be surprisingly in-depth for a racing game. Early rumors suggest cameo appearances by lesser-known Sonic characters, plus narrative arcs explaining why the CrossWorlds circuit is such a crucial event for them. The game may even tie in with the next chapter of the Sonic cinematic universe, though that part remains pure speculation. The bottom line is that Sonic Racing CrossWorlds stands out not just as a potential rival to Mario Kart World, but as a carefully engineered project from a team determined to prove that their brand has more to offer than just a side-scrolling platform style. Of course, none of that ambition would matter much if the game were overshadowed by something as fundamental as distribution. And that is precisely why some are calling this fiasco, with the Switch 2 keycard concept, such a pivotal moment. There is a constant tug-of-war between Sega, eager to deliver a massive game with top-notch visuals and robust online functionality, and Nintendo, pushing a new generation of hardware while trying to avoid shipping monstrous game cartridges that might spike production costs. Caught in the crossfire are the fans, some more than willing to embrace a digital revolution, others staunchly resistant to giving up tangible collectibles. One might wonder how these differing perspectives will affect pre-orders of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds for the Switch 2. Are players going to cancel their pre-orders once and if Sega confirms that the game is purely a download code inside a plastic case? Or might the hype for a flashy new racing experience override that frustration, especially if early reviews confirm that CrossWorlds truly is the breath of fresh air that the genre desperately needs? Industry analysts are split. On one side, there is the notion that the console market has already pivoted so heavily toward digital that many gamers will shrug and accept a keycard scenario. On the other side, an equally vocal crowd insists that entire collector communities revolve around the art and tangibility of physical games. Some foresee a rabbit hole of confusion in which big retailers might not even stock the keycard version if the code can simply be purchased online for a fraction of the storage or shipping costs. That, in turn, raises new questions about whether we could see an accelerated decline of physical gaming sections in brick-and-mortar shops. All of these concerns swirl ominously around one single racing game, further intensifying public interest in how Sega and Nintendo handle the next steps. Meanwhile, eagle-eyed fans also note that any perceived slight from Sega concerning the Switch 2 version of CrossWorlds could put them at a disadvantage against Mario Kart World. That title arrived on the Switch 2 with a fully featured physical cartridge, offering a new immersive track builder mode alongside a suite of vibrant circuits. Critics praised Mario Kart World for capitalizing on the advanced processing power of the Switch 2, implementing real-time lighting and partial ray-traced reflections for the first time in the series. With such a strong baseline from the Nintendo juggernaut, some potential buyers are left wondering, if Mario Kart has no problem fitting onto a modern cartridge, then why should Sonic Racing CrossWorlds resort to streaming half of its data from the cloud or requiring massive patches? Even more curious is the official line from Sonic Team, which has stated publicly that it wants a fair fight with Mario Kart World. Their emphasis on skill-based, high-octane racing was intended to draw in a distinct demographic, but fans retort, how fair can it be if one contender strides into the ring with a full cartridge while the other shows up with nothing but a losable keycard code? Some would argue that the actual gameplay should remain the primary factor. Others see the distribution fiasco as a sign that Sega lacks confidence in the final product. If you are enjoying this breakdown of the hype, rumors, and corporate strategies swirling around Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, remember that you can subscribe and stay updated on every twist in this saga. We love dissecting hot-button gaming stories, and your support ensures we can continue bringing these deep dives to your screen. Through it all, Sega remains tight-lipped, offering little more than polite company statements along the lines of, "We have enjoyed forging new relationships with Nintendo's next-gen console and look forward to delivering the best experience possible to fans of the Sonic franchise." The official line neither confirms nor denies the presence of a keycard. Instead, they have dropped small hints that no matter how the physical product ships, the game itself will be updated regularly with free patches, limited-time events, and possibly expansions. But for every assurance of robust post-launch support, there are fans who bristle at what they call a disguised games-as-a-service model, reliant on continuous downloads over the console's lifespan. Adding to the complexity, some fans worry that, if the physical game is indeed just a code, supply chain disruptions or unforeseen server issues could hamper day-one downloads. Others believe the robust infrastructure behind Nintendo's digital marketplace is more than capable of delivering the game to everyone who wants it. Skeptics counter that the earliest influx of player traffic often taxes servers, leading to potential chaos in those celebratory first hours, which are so crucial for building positive word of mouth. If CrossWorlds stumbles at launch, it could create a negative narrative that even a top-tier racing experience might struggle to overcome. Moreover, the concept of a specialized upgrade for the Switch 2 remains a separate puzzle. If that version's data is so large or so technically advanced that it just cannot fit on older cartridge formats, might it also require a dedicated patch available exclusively through the eShop? Or, here is another possibility, perhaps Sega has planned to distribute a smaller portion of the game on the cartridge, or keycard, and require a mandatory download for the rest, bridging the gap. That might be the most pragmatic solution, but it still leaves purists unsatisfied. Indeed, whenever a partial download is mandatory, collectors argue that the physical object is no longer truly self-contained. Ultimately, we should not forget this is still Sonic the Hedgehog. The entire brand is built on speed, attitude, and bright colors zipping across a screen. Once players lay their hands on the actual gameplay of CrossWorlds, many may find themselves too enthralled by the smooth controls, layered track designs, and addictive multiplayer modes to care how they obtain them. If the experience resonates deeply, the backlash might give way to acceptance. On the other hand, if the new release stumbles under technical hiccups or does not match the hype of its marketing campaign, fans will be quick to say, "We told you so," blaming everything from Sega's distribution choices to the complexities of the Switch 2's hardware environment. Further fueling the discussion is the rumored cameo roster. Some fans have pointed out that playable guest characters from other franchises could generate massive interest, adding a fresh layer of star power to the racing action. Others note that Sonic's world is large enough already, from Tails and Knuckles to Shadow, Amy, Metal Sonic, and the rest of the extended cast. According to some interviews, Sega trimmed a large selection of wacky items from the final version because they were deemed too over-the-top and disruptive during intense races. The team wants a competitive balance that will differentiate CrossWorlds from Mario Kart's famously random item distribution. But if the final product leans too heavily into seriousness, might it lose part of the broader casual audience that thrives on chaotic fun? Each new piece of information spawns fresh questions, building enormous suspense around the release date. The official marketing might brand CrossWorlds as the next-level competitive racer for Sonic fans, but behind that flashy tagline, intense discussions rage about distribution, costs, internet requirements, and the overall direction of physical media in an age of digital dominance. Meanwhile, on online forums, longtime players reminisce about simpler days of popping a new cartridge into a console and racing away, no patches required. The generational shift is playing out in real time, with Sonic Racing CrossWorlds caught at the center of the storm. It is essential to remember that, for all the drama, many players are simply looking forward to zipping around colorful new tracks at breakneck speeds. The idea of collectible vinyl plaques or plushies featuring the CrossWorlds logo has also been a point of giddy speculation. But overshadowing these fun aspects, the question remains: will the Switch 2 edition of Sonic Racing CrossWorlds come in the form of a true honest-to-goodness cartridge, or that contentious keycard? And if it is the latter, is the fan outcry strong enough to prompt Sega to reverse course? Cynics doubt it, pointing to the potent financial realities of large file sizes and distribution overhead. Conspiracy theorists have conjured the possibility that Sega might ultimately produce a collector's edition with a real cartridge in extremely limited quantities, appeasing the hardcore enthusiasts while letting the mainstream keycard version handle mass distribution. No official statement has given any credence to that scenario, yet it persists as a glimmer of hope among collectors who refuse to accept that the physical era is approaching its twilight. The tension in the air is palpable. Regardless, in a world where gaming communities can erupt into fiery debate at a moment's notice, Sega's silence is arguably fueling the hype even further. After all, there is seldom anything more intriguing than a significant leak or rumor that refuses to be confirmed. Each day that passes without clarity only amps up the speculation. Will fans see a storyline that cements CrossWorlds as the ultimate Sonic racing experience? And will Nintendo's approach to distribution enlighten or alienate the loyal base that has carried them through generations of handheld and console releases? As we sprint closer to launch day, all eyes remain on Sega's marketing reveals, on Nintendo's behind-the-scenes hardware policy decisions, and on the potential synergy between CrossWorlds and the established library of the Switch 2. Could it be that the game will launch seamlessly, overshadowing the entire keycard fiasco because it is simply too fun to ignore? Or might the negativity overshadow the hype once the official confirmation hits the press? After years of waiting for a new Sonic racing title, fans understandably have high hopes. The abrupt collision between thrilling gameplay promises and the frustration over a non-traditional physical release might, paradoxically, make Sonic Racing CrossWorlds the most talked-about racing game in recent memory. And that is saying something, given the historical popularity of Mario Kart. The fate of this ambitious title, and whether it can truly drift into the hearts of a global audience, will be determined by a delicate mixture of corporate decision-making, fan acceptance, and the intangible magic that happens when you flip on your console and dive into an epic racing experience. No matter how this keycard saga plays out, one fact remains. CrossWorlds is set to drop on September 25th, 2025, across multiple platforms. The question is, will it achieve legend status in the Sonic pantheon, or become a cautionary tale about misjudging consumer demand for tangible, playable product? One thing is sure, nobody expects Sonic or his fellow racers to slow down. They have a reputation for speed, so the only real unknown is whether the medium that delivers that speed will be a plastic keycard or a good old-fashioned cartridge. As the countdown continues, the excitement is undeniable, the speculation unstoppable, and the race to clarify the final distribution plan might just be as dramatic as any final lap showdown on the track. However you feel about physical media or digital downloads, there is no denying that Sonic Racing CrossWorlds stands at a crossroads for the industry. From the ways developers communicate with their communities, to the packaging, or lack thereof, that releases on store shelves, this title has become a symbol for the debate over how best to balance tradition with innovation. So, whether you are Team Digital or still prefer that comforting click of a cartridge locking into place, buckle up. The next few months are certain to be an exhilarating ride, and we will be here, analyzing every twist and turn until the checkered flag drops on launch day.